My beloved child, listen carefully if you trust in God. Type Amen. Sometimes the most powerful connections are the quietest ones. The ones that don't come wrapped in fireworks or dramatic entrances. The ones that feel soft, safe, familiar, not because they are boring, but because they carry peace instead of pressure. You've been searching, hoping, wondering if the kind of love you've prayed for still exists. You've watched people come and go, some too fast, some too distant, some too loud to ever feel real. But what if the one you're meant to grow with is already near? What if the soul who understands you best has been walking beside you this whole time, not seeking to impress you, but choosing to see you? You've been looking for signs. But love is not always a sign. Sometimes it's a presence. Sometimes it's a glance that lingers. A conversation that feels effortless. A moment that doesn't ask for attention, but leaves your heart quietly full. This person hasn't come to disrupt your life. They've come to steady it. They may not have confessed it yet. They may not even fully understand what they're feeling. But deep inside them, there's a knowing, a pull they can't explain, a peace they can't ignore, every time you're near. And heaven has been watching it unfold. Gently. Quietly. Naturally. Because not all love stories begin with declarations. Some begin with friendship. With eye contact that says more than words. With soft laughter in shared spaces. With the way you make them feel safe enough to dream again. You may have overlooked them. Not because they're hidden, but because they're consistent. Not because they're mysterious, but because they're familiar. And sometimes, in the noise of everything we think love should look like, we miss the love that's already standing close. God is saying, you don't have to chase this. You just have to see it. See how they remember the little things. See how their energy softens when you enter the room. See how their eyes light up not just at your beauty, but at your presence. See how they hold space for your thoughts, even in silence. This is not a crush. This is not a phase. This is recognition. Soul-level recognition. They've seen you broken, and didn't run. They've seen you healing, and stood still. They've heard your laughter and listened through your pain. And even if they haven't found the courage to say it out loud, their soul has already whispered your name in the quiet places of prayer. And maybe you've been afraid to believe it. Because love has hurt before. Because some people said all the right things and still left. Because vulnerability feels risky, especially when your heart has already survived so much. But this love? It's not asking for your fear. It's asking for your awareness. To pause. To see. To sense the one who's already here. Heaven is not sending someone. Heaven is revealing someone. And that's the difference. This is not about waiting. This is about recognizing. Recognizing the peace. The safety. The quiet admiration behind every interaction. The way their presence feels like home before a single promise is spoken. God is not playing games with your heart. He's gently drawing your attention to something real. To someone who doesn't want to fix you, but join you. Not to change you, but to cherish you. Not to rush you, but to rise with you. Side by side. Soul to soul. So take a breath. Let your walls soften. You're not in this alone. The person who wants to marry you is already in your life. And heaven is saying, this time, you won't miss it. Love doesn't always introduce itself with grand moments or loud confessions. Sometimes it enters your life dressed as familiarity, disguised in the comfort of a presence you never had to question. And that presence, the one you've leaned on during moments when your voice trembled, when your dreams felt distant, when the world felt too loud. That presence is the one heaven is drawing your heart toward right now. Not to overwhelm you, not to confuse you, but to reveal what has been quietly unfolding beneath the surface all along. This is not about a new connection. This is about finally recognizing the one that's already been forming like a whisper through time. You didn't miss them. You've just been looking with the wrong lens. Expecting fire when God sent stillness. Expecting pursuit when heaven sent peace. Expecting someone loud when your soul craved someone who could be gentle. The person who wants to marry you is not hiding. They are simply not forcing their love to be louder than your healing. They've waited. Patiently. Silently. Watching you evolve. Watching you grow. Watching you carry yourself through seasons that would have broken others, and they've loved you more for it. Not with declarations, but with devotion. Not with demands, but with deep unseen loyalty. The kind that stays even when the story hasn't been defined yet. Look closer. Not with fear, but with faith. It's in the way they remember what matters to you. It's in the pauses they give when you speak, listening like your words have weight. It's in the consistency of their care, never pushing too hard, never stepping too far back. It's in the way they've studied you without ever trying to change you. They didn't come to fix you. They came to stand beside you. And that is the purest kind of preparation. They've loved you in the space between just friends and something more, not because they were unsure, but because they respected your pace. They sensed your cautious heart. They saw your quiet wounds. And instead of pushing through, they chose to protect the process. That's what love does. Real love doesn't rush revelation. Real love honors the unfolding. And they've been unfolding beside you this whole time. You've been asking heaven, where is my person? And heaven has been whispering back, right in front of you. The one who never made you feel small for dreaming big. The one who looked at your brokenness and saw beauty. The one who celebrated you in silence because they didn't want to complicate your journey. But now the season is shifting. Now your soul is ready to receive what it once wasn't ready to see. And what you're seeing now is clear. They've been here. They've been near. And their love has already spoken, even without words. You don't need to search anymore. You just need to open. Open your heart. Open your mind. Open your awareness to the fact that this connection was not missed, it was marinating in God's timing. So if your spirit feels warm around them, trust that. If your energy calms in their presence, believe that. If your smile comes easier when they're near, don't question that. That's heaven's way of confirming something your heart already knows. You are not alone in this realization. They feel it too. Maybe they haven't found the words. Maybe they're waiting for a sign that your heart is finally ready. But what matters most is that heaven has confirmed it now. This is not about rushing forward. It's about finally looking sideways and realizing the person who's been steady next to you was sent by God for more than friendship. You don't have to search every room to find them. You don't need to study every glance or decode every conversation. Because love, real love, doesn't hide in riddles. It reveals itself in rhythms. And the rhythm of their presence has been singing around you for a long time. Not loudly. Not with fireworks. But in the softest moments. In the silence after your laughter. In the way they lean in when your voice softens. In the way they ask how you're doing, not out of habit, but because your well-being has always been a quiet priority in their world. They've watched you build your strength, carry your battles, recover from things you never even spoke out loud. And through it all, they didn't try to fix you. They simply stood near. Because the person who wants to marry you knows love isn't a rescue, it's a reverence. They've fallen in love with more than your face. They've fallen in love with your stillness. The way you think. The way you care for others even when you're tired. The way you carry so much without complaining. The way you give without asking. And the way you've survived things no one else could see. You may think they don't notice. But they do. They've seen how your smile shifts when you're holding back tears. They've heard the change in your tone when you're pretending to be strong. They've recognized the moment when you say, "I'm okay," but your energy quietly begs for someone to stay. And though they've never forced you to open, they've always stayed close enough for your heart to know. If I ever need to fall apart, they'll be there. This is not about someone coming to complete you. You've already completed so much within yourself. This is about someone who sees the way you've built your world, brick by brick, through storms and silence. And they want to walk through that world with you. Not to take over. Not to change it. But to become a quiet addition to everything you've already created. They've imagined a life with you. Not in a dramatic way. But in the subtle way real love dreams. They've imagined grocery shopping with you. Morning coffee with you. Falling asleep beside your breath, not because they need you, but because you've become home. And home doesn't shout. It doesn't push. It doesn't rush. It just waits patiently to be chosen. They haven't told you yet. Maybe out of fear. Maybe out of respect. Maybe because they know how much you've already had to carry, and they don't want to add to that weight unless they can bring something sacred. But their silence has never been absence. Their distance has never been disinterest. Their waiting has never been weakness. It's been love learning how to approach without forcing. It's been heaven teaching their heart to hold space, not possession. To prepare, not pressure. And now, you're standing in the moment where their preparation is aligning with your awareness. You're ready to see them now. Not as just a friend. Not as just someone who's always been around. but as someone whose love has always been layered, quiet, respectful, kind, and honest. You may feel your heart stirring now. Not in fear, but in recognition. You may feel their face crossing your mind. Not randomly, but because heaven is allowing your spirit to align with what's been held in front of you all along. They are not coming. They have already come. They are not a stranger. They are already woven into your story. They are not uncertain. They are just waiting for your heart to say, I see you. And when you do, when you finally see them as more than someone you've known, you'll understand why God never let you settle. Why every heartbreak taught you discernment. Why every delay was divine. Because this love was never rushed. It was revealed, moment by sacred moment. Sometimes the most sacred relationships are hidden in plain sight, not because they are invisible, but because your soul was not yet ready to recognize their depth. It's not that you've been blind, it's that you've been focused. Focused on healing. Focused on building. Focused on finding strength within yourself after seasons of disappointment. And while you were growing through silence, through solitude, through surrender, someone else was quietly growing beside you. Not to be noticed, not to be chosen for what they could offer, but simply because they felt drawn to your light. They didn't chase it. They didn't demand it. They just stayed near. And now that your soul is resting from survival, you're finally still enough to feel what's been present all along, a love that's been forming while you weren't looking. They were never trying to impress you. That's why you missed it. Because your heart was used to chasing, not being cherished. It was used to noise, not nourishment. It was used to effort, not ease. And this person has always offered ease. Not because they didn't care, but because they loved you without expectation. They chose to honor you in silence rather than pressure you in noise. This isn't someone who tried to fit into your life by force. They didn't interrupt. They supported. They listened. They noticed. They prayed for you when you didn't even know you needed it. They celebrated you quietly, clapped for your success even when they didn't get a front row seat. They held space. The kind of space only a soul who truly wants to build something lasting knows how to hold. You may not have considered them before, not because they weren't enough, but because your heart wasn't in a season where it could fully receive soft love. You were still unlearning what pain taught you. Still healing from connections that demanded more than they gave. Still recovering from voices that made you feel like love had to be earned with exhaustion. And while you were tending to those wounds, this person simply remained. They didn't rush your process. They didn't take your silence personally. They just stayed, consistent, calm, present. Because deep down, they believed in something you hadn't fully seen yet, the version of you who was ready to be loved without fear. And now, that version is rising. Now your eyes are softening toward things you used to overlook. Now your heart is no longer guarded, it's discerning. Now you're beginning to understand why every other connection felt incomplete. Because it was preparing you to recognize something whole. This person doesn't offer perfection. But they offer presence. They don't have all the right words. But their energy brings peace. They won't rescue you. But they'll remind you that you never had to be alone. They don't make promises they can't keep. They show up. They show up again. And again. And again. You don't need to overthink this. You don't need to look for red flags where there are none. You don't need to protect yourself from someone who has already been protecting your heart from a distance. What you need is to receive. To let your soul believe that a love this real, this close, this aligned, is possible. And not only is it possible, it's present. Already here. Already near. Already in your life. All that's left now is recognition. Not a confession. Not a performance. Just a quiet awakening that says, maybe it's you. Maybe it's been you all along. And when that realization hits you, not like lightning, but like peace, you will finally understand that what you've been waiting for was never late. It was already walking beside you. Patiently. Faithfully. Lovingly. Ready to become the chapter you never thought you'd live. But were always meant to write together. Love doesn't always knock on your door wearing labels or holding signs. Sometimes, it sits quietly at the table with you, learning your rhythms, studying the way your shoulders rise when you're tired and how your eyes dim when your heart is heavy. Sometimes, love doesn't introduce itself with roses or rings. Sometimes, it shows up by remembering how you take your tea. It shows up by checking if you made it home safely. It shows up by standing in the background, without needing credit, simply because your presence is enough reward for their patience. This is the kind of love that's already in your life. Not flashy. Not forced. Just faithful. Just present. Just real. They may not have spoken the words yet, but their actions have already whispered everything your soul needed to hear. They notice things others overlook. They celebrate the small things. They protect your silence. They sit in your sadness without rushing you out of it. They don't just admire your beauty, they admire your becoming. The person who wants to marry you is not just someone who sees your potential, they see your process. They've walked beside it. Watched you bloom through your breaking. Held your softness while the world demanded your strength. And in that journey, without even realizing it, their heart decided, you are home. They didn't need to say it. They've already shown it. In the way they support you even when they get nothing in return. In the way they defend your name even when you're not in the room. In the way they ask about things you forgot you even told them. In the way they see parts of you that others missed while trying to impress you. Because they weren't trying to impress you. They were trying to understand you. This love is quiet, but it is not weak. It is steady. It is mature. It is prepared. Not just to love you, but to walk with you. To carry with you. To become with you. You've prayed for someone who wouldn't leave. Someone who wouldn't make you question your worth. Someone who could sit in your silence and still feel close. That prayer has already been answered. Not in thunder. Not in lightning. But in presence. In patience. In a face that doesn't just smile at your strengths, but sees your flaws and stays. Not to fix them, but to honor them. Because the person who wants to marry you doesn't see your imperfections as burdens. They see them as beauty in progress. And they are willing, joyfully willing, to walk that progress with you. Heaven has not been holding this person back. Heaven has been revealing them slowly. At the pace your heart can receive. Because the love you're about to walk into is not just for romance. It's for restoration. This is someone who isn't just coming to hold your hand, they're coming to hold your legacy. To dream with you. To build with you. To weather the seasons, not just enjoy the sunshine. This is someone whose love feels like calm, not chaos. Whose energy brings alignment, not anxiety. Someone whose presence doesn't demand performance, it inspires peace. And now you stand at the edge of awareness, beginning to recognize what you once overlooked. They weren't hiding. You were healing. And now that your heart is open, the truth feels undeniable. They're not just in your life by coincidence. They are here by calling. And your spirit already knows it. That's why you've been thinking about them more. That's why their name feels softer in your mouth lately. That's why their presence no longer feels casual, it feels covered. Covered by grace. Covered by timing. Covered by the quiet whisper of God saying, "You're ready now. Look again." And when you do, not with fear, but with faith, you'll see what was hidden not because it was unclear, but because heaven was waiting for your soul to be still enough to see it. This story was never about suddenly falling in love. It was about slowly realizing that love had been there all along. Growing gently in the quiet spaces of your life, waiting patiently for your heart to notice what your spirit had already felt. You thought love would announce itself in a loud and dazzling way, but instead, it arrived through someone who brought you peace without trying. They didn't try to impress you. They didn't push their way into your world. They simply existed beside you, fully, honestly, humbly. And now, that presence is beginning to feel familiar in a new way, like something is waking up inside you that was always meant to recognize them. This is someone who never asked for your attention. They earned it without even knowing. In the way they supported your boundaries, in the way they respected your silence, in the way they showed up with steady hands when your world was shaking. This is not a person who came to challenge your peace. This is a person who came to protect it. And now that you've stopped running, now that you've sat still long enough to feel your own heart, you realize they've always been close. They've been part of your process, not as a lesson, but as a gift. The kind of gift that doesn't come wrapped in grand gestures, but in small, holy consistency. And the love they hold for you? It's not rooted in fantasy. It's not based on illusions or projection. It's based on the real you, the soft you, the silent you, the unsure you. They've seen your strength and your softness. They've watched you give to the world while wondering if anyone would ever give to you. They've heard you speak hope even on days when your eyes look tired. And something in their heart said, I could do life with them. Not because they're perfect, but because they're real. Because they feel like home. They didn't rush you. They didn't try to convince you. They didn't ask for your love, they waited for your trust. And that's why this is real. Because love that is built on pressure crumbles. But love that is built on patience? That's the kind of love heaven plants. They are already in your life. And you feel it now, don't you? The way your thoughts drift to them without effort. The way their voice lingers in your mind longer than it should. The way their presence makes the ordinary moments feel just a little more meaningful. It's not attraction. It's not infatuation. It's recognition. God is not trying to confuse you. He's trying to confirm something that's been unfolding for longer than you realize. That connection you feel? It's real. That warmth you sense? It's not accidental. That peace you feel when they're near? That's divine alignment. And the best part? They feel it too. They just haven't known how to speak it. Because some things are too sacred to say too soon. But heaven is preparing both of your hearts. Softly. Gently. Perfectly. This is a person who doesn't need you to be anything other than what you are. They've already fallen for the version of you that wasn't trying. They don't need you to perform. They don't need you to change. They just need you to see them back. And now, you are starting to. Not because someone told you. But because your soul finally stopped protecting itself long enough to see what's been standing in front of you all along. They've walked through your seasons with you. Maybe as a friend. Maybe as someone in the background. Maybe as someone who never dared to cross the line because they respected you too deeply to take advantage of your vulnerability. But they're here. And their heart is speaking, even in silence. You just have to listen. This is not about rushing forward. This is about honoring what's already been real. This is about letting love come into full focus after months or years of feeling it from the side of your vision. And now, you don't have to guess. You don't have to question. You don't have to wait. You just have to say, maybe it's you. And when you do, everything will shift. Not because something new began. But because you finally looked up. And saw what God placed near you all along. You've been wondering why your spirit feels calm around them, not excited in a way that drains you, but peaceful in a way that grounds you. It's because they don't just like you, they understand you. Not just the version of you that the world sees, but the version that wakes up weary, the one that overthinks, the one that doubts sometimes and still tries anyway. That's the version they're in love with. And they haven't told you yet, not because they're hiding their heart, but because they've been waiting for the right time. Waiting for your eyes to see clearly what your heart has always felt quietly, that this is more than a friendship, more than coincidence, more than casual energy floating between two people who just happen to know each other. They've studied the way you love others. They've watched how your kindness holds depth, how your voice becomes soft when you talk about the people you miss. They've watched how you always make space for people, even when no one is making space for you. And something in them knew from the beginning, this isn't someone I want to lose. This isn't someone I can forget. This is someone whose presence makes everything feel like it makes sense. They didn't fall in love with you in a moment. They fell in love over time, in silence, in details, in the way you kept choosing goodness even when life gave you reasons not to. They didn't want to rush you. They didn't want to risk losing the closeness you already shared. They didn't want to say too much too soon. Because some hearts don't just want a moment, they want a future. And they saw that with you. They saw memories you haven't made yet. They imagined days that haven't arrived. They envisioned a life that didn't need extravagance. Just your laughter, your morning voice, your sleepy good night. They saw forever not as a fantasy but as something sacred, something they would never force but would be willing to wait for, and you've started to feel it. In the small shifts. The way you think of them when something beautiful happens. The way your smile lingers longer when they text. The way your energy softens in their presence. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. But it's real. It's steady. It's undeniable. And maybe you've wondered, is it just me? But it's not. Their heart has been holding this connection in silence. And now, heaven is giving you both the courage to step closer. Not to rush. Not to label. But to finally acknowledge what's been quietly building all this time. This love didn't come to test you. It came to teach you that real love doesn't arrive with demands. It arrives with honor. Honor for your timing. Honor for your healing. Honor for the sacred weight of your yes. And this person, the one who's already in your life, they've been carrying that honor like a vow even before any promise was spoken. They may not say it perfectly. They may not know how to begin. But if you listen, you'll hear their heart calling yours. In the consistency of their presence. In the quiet way they show up. In the way they've stayed, even when there was no guarantee they'd be chosen. You don't need a sign anymore. You are the sign. You are the moment their heart has been waiting for. And now, you're finally able to see what they've known for so long. That you are the one. Not because you're flawless. But because your soul matches theirs in a way that doesn't need to be explained, only embraced. So open your heart, not in fear, but in faith. Because love is no longer something that's coming. It's something that's already here. Already breathing beside you. Already dreaming with you. Already choosing you, softly, quietly, faithfully. And now, it's time you choose it too. If you believe in God, type Amen or 444 or 555 or 0002 111. Subscribe for more videos.